All right, let's just get right into it. We need to talk about this hidden connection between all the stuff you own and your actual wealth. A connection that honestly almost nobody ever talks about, and it's a paradox that could be costing you an absolute fortune.
So, picture two neighbors, okay? The first one earns a really solid $95,000 a year. Their house looks amazing, It's filled with the latest gadgets, a $4,000 couch, designer clothes, but behind all that, they are just two missed paychecks away from a complete financial meltdown. Now look next door. Their neighbor earns just $52,000. Their home is simple, but get this, they have 18 months of expenses saved up and they invest 20% of every single paycheck.
So that brings up the big question, right? How on earth is this possible? How can someone making almost half the money be 10 times more financially secure? Well, it's not magic, it's math, a kind of hidden math that we're about to break down.
See, the answer is in these 5 minimalist money rules that will completely flip how you think about your finances. We're going to cover the hidden cost of stuff, find the true measure of value, run the ruthless replacement test, kill the upgrade culture, and finally, avoid something I call the multiplier trap. So let's kick it off with rule number 1, the hidden cost of stuff. Here's the big idea. Most people have no idea what their possessions actually cost. Because everything you own costs you money not once, but twice.
The first cost, that's the easy one. It's the price on the tag. But that second cost, that's the invisible one. It's what I call implicit rent. It is the constant, hidden price you pay for the physical space your stuff occupies in your life. You know that treadmill you bought with all the best intentions? Yeah, the one that's now basically just a place to hang your clothes? Well, if that thing takes up 20 square feet in a city apartment, you could be paying $1,000 a year just to let it sit there. That is one expensive clothes rack.
And it's not just about the money. Every single thing you own hits you with what I'd call a mental tax. It demands a little piece of your brain power. It needs to be cleaned, maintained, insured, or just worried about. All that clutter isn't just making your house look messy, it's literally raising your stress levels.
So the big takeaway from this first rule is you've got to shift your mindset. A lot of the things we buy aren't assets that are lifting us up. Now, they're anchors, and they're weighing us down, both financially and mentally. Okay, let's move on to rule number 2, which builds on this idea. This is all about finding the true measure of value. A lot of people think minimalists are cheap or they hate nice things. That's not it at all. They just really, really hate bad math. And this is where the math is so cool. It's all about cost per use. Just look at this. A cheap, trendy $200 jacket that you wear maybe twice, that thing costs you $100 every single time you put it on. But a classic, well-made $400 jacket that you'll wear 200 times, that's just $2 per wear. The expensive item is actually the bargain. It's not even close.
Once you start thinking this way, it just destroys impulse buys. That fancy $300 kitchen gadget you just had to have, but you're only going to pull out for a dinner party twice a year? Yep, you're paying $150 each time you use it. When you frame it like that, your spending habits start to change like overnight.
All right, time for rule number 3, the ruthless replacement test. Think of this as a quick and super powerful audit you can do on everything you already own, right now. I want you to ask yourself this one simple question, and you have to be brutally honest. Look around the room you're in. Pick something. If it just vanished into thin air, would you go out tomorrow and spend your hard-earned money to buy it all over again? For most of our stuff, the fondue set you got as a gift, the clothes that haven't fit for 2 years, that random box of old cables, the answer is a hard no. And what that tells you is that this stuff is in your life because of inertia, not because of intention. They're basically silent thieves, stealing your space, your energy, and your money. Let's talk about rule number 4. And this is a huge one in today's world. It's about killing the upgrade culture. We're constantly being hammered with the message that new is better, but just wanting something new shouldn't be a reason to go broke.
I mean, the numbers here are just staggering. Your phone works perfectly fine, but hey, the new one has a slightly better camera, so you drop another $1,000. Your car runs great, but the new model has a bigger screen. Over 30 years, this cycle of just upgrading perfectly good stuff can cost the average person over $200,000 in wasted wealth. That's a down payment on a house. That's life-changing money.
So what's the fix? Well, the minimalist antidote is to have a really clear definition of functional, and it's this. An item is only broken if it can no longer do its main job. A scratch isn't broken. A slightly slower chip isn't broken. And not having the latest color definitely isn't broken.
And that brings us to our final rule, number 5, avoiding the multiplier trap. This is all about learning to see the hidden costs that are attached to any big purchase by looking at its entire ecosystem.
The boat is the perfect example. You see a used one for what seems like a great deal, $5,000. But the boat, that's not the real cost. You need a trailer, you need a hitch for your car, you've got monthly storage fees, insurance, and constant maintenance. That $5,000 purchase quickly balloons into a $12,000 commitment, not to mention all the ongoing costs. This applies to so many hobbies.
So here's a really simple, practical way to avoid that trap. It's the rent-first strategy. Before you dive into some expensive new hobby, just rent the gear. You want to try kayaking? Go rent one 5 different times. If you're still doing it consistently 6 months from now, then and only then should you even think about buying one. This one little rule will stop your garage from turning into a museum of abandoned expensive hobbies.
So after all of these rules, what's the actual goal here? It's not just to have an empty house. It's to completely redefine what wealth even means. It's about a concept called optionality.
Let's look at this one last time. Who is actually free here? The person making $200,000 a year but spending every single penny just to keep up with their lifestyle? No, they're a slave to their paycheck. The truly free person is the one earning $80,000 a year but living comfortably on $45,000. They have the freedom to quit a job they hate, to handle an emergency, to take a risk on a new idea. That is real freedom.
So here's your homework. Tonight, I want you to actually use the replacement test. Find 10 things in your house that you wouldn't spend a dime on if they disappeared tomorrow. And then, get rid of them. The big takeaway from all of this is simple. Stop using your stuff to tell the world your story. Let your bank account, your peace of mind, and your freedom tell that story instead.